Mercury's 1970 super personal car. The new Junior Intermediate Cougar will replace the big Marauder and the standard size Cyclone as Mercury's all-around do-it-all high-performance car. The new 114-inch wheelbase Junior Intermediate Cougar replaces the big Marauder and standard size Cyclone as Mercury's all-around do-it-all performance car. It shares Mustang's flush door handles and recessed windshield wipers, but does not lay claim to the European GT aerodynamics of the new Mustang sports roof. Its windshield is less steeply raked than the radical Mustang, because the engine is set back another 4 inches. Because of the setback engine, Mercury cuts the Cougar's front overhang that's become Mercury's styling signature lately. Since its debut, the Cougar has garnered sales and market share in the coveted youth market and a high public relations profile. So now all Lincoln Mercury dealers are generically under the sign of the cat. The Cougar started life as a pseudo-Jaguar. Its conceit was that it was just missing $800 of shipping costs required to cross the pond. Cougar's role, right from its introduction, was to sell grace, style, sophistication, quiet performance, luxury, and understated elegance. With 3 extra inches of wheelbase and rear legroom, it was an oversized Mustang with a host of standard equipment, including T-Bird-like sequential turn signals, hidden headlights, bucket seats, ceiling console, floor shifter, and a 289 V8. Dan Gurney nearly won the '67 Trans Am Championship in one, and Don Nicholson stormed the quarter mile with the '68 425 cubic inch GTE version. FoMoCo's Bunky Knudsen wishes to make Ford's division more independent from each other. Most of Ford's GM turncoats will tell you that GM's greatest strength is the surprising autonomy exercised by its divisions. In fact, the competition between the divisions is often fiercer than it is with other corporations. Knudsen says Mercury is missing out on pricing power and profits that Olds and Buick enjoy within GM, because the buyer hasn't seen that Mercury really is a big step up from Ford. Since the Cougar has been one of the most successful and profitable Mercurys in quite some time, the Cougar was lavished with unique engineering design and options that make it far, far more than just a bigger Mustang. The newest Cougar follows the footsteps of Chevrolets like the '67 Impala SS427 and '70 Monte Carlo SS454, which claim to be designed from a clean sheet of paper as supercars. Cougar's personal luxury pose employs a neoclassical grille with vertical slats in the center and horizontal slats on the sides like the full-size man's car Mercury. The new Cougar shares a lot less with its Ford Mustang corporate cousin. While its unit chassis shares suspension with the Mustang, Cougar has a 4-inch longer wheelbase that is devoted to placing the engine further behind the front axle. Similar to the Chevrolet Monte Carlo, it brags of a favorable 53-47 front-to-rear weight distribution. Despite a longer wheelbase and new heavy side guardrails in the doors, weight increases only 50 pounds over the '69-70, and length is up only half an inch. At 197 inches, it's a foot shorter and 250 pounds lighter than the Cyclone Intermediate, which faltered in the marketplace after the '68-69 made great gains. The 2+2 layout is designed more for the young bucks who buy the lion's share of supercars. The idea of the family man supercar is one that Bunky Knudsen says has failed multiple times. With the new embrace of the popular personal luxury machine like the Grand Prix and Monte Carlo, Knudsen is convinced that even the luxury-oriented Cougar is likely to succeed without much room in the back seats. The door is heavy, long, and thick, with big steel guard beams that are to be federally mandated by 1973. The long door provides a small opening in tight parking lots. Much like Mopar E-body pony cars, it has a one-piece door panel, which is optional, with well-guarded safety door handles and integrated armrests. '70 Cougar had 3 inches more wheelbase and 3 inches more legroom in back than Mustang. Now passenger room is the same as the 110-inch wheelbase '71 Mustang. Cougar's 4-inch longer wheelbase is devoted to the longer hood. Seats, shifter, steering wheel, and console are lifted from the Mustang. High back design retains insufficient side bolstering that has long afflicted Detroit buckets. At over $3,600, the basic Cougar is not cheap, as its very identity demands a long list of standard equipment. Options drove our test model to $1,000 over the mark, despite the fact that it lacked really expensive luxuries like air conditioning and a tape deck. For '71, the drag strip-oriented Eliminator package has been nixed, but you can still get the effect by ordering a GT, which includes the color-keyed functional hood scoop, dual racing mirrors, a 350 axle ratio, a heavy-duty radiator, competition handling suspension, and engine gauges with a tachometer. When you mix it with the XR7 model, you get leather seats and a decor package with molded door panels, rocker trim, and wood grain dashboard. As usual, we prefer Mercury's instrument panel to Ford's. Mustang has speedo, tachometer, and gas gauge in the middle, with temperature, oil pressure, and ammeter in the center stack. Cougar has 4 big gauges on the panel, with only oil pressure and ammeter in the center, and luxurious-looking wood applique filling its role as the luxury sports car. Low-mounted heater is nearly impossible to control while buckled in. Interior insulation grants isolation from the V8's raucous ram air intake and big dual exhausts. While Mustang makes do with the 352 as its biggest engine, the 352 is the smallest engine in the Cougar. Cougar's exclusive 429 V8 gives it 40 more horsepower than you can get on the top Mustang Boss 352. It uses a 715 CFM GM Rochester carburetor and a camshaft with greater overlap that boosts the power peak from 4,600 to 5,400 RPM. Those who like to change their own spark plugs will not experience any resolution to their anxieties, as FoMoCo's tall shock towers have massive braces running to the firewall, which block access to the plugs just as much or more than on the infamously hard-to-service 7-liter Cougar GTE. Cougar inherits the defunct Marauder's flying buttress rear roofline. Upright rear window and steeper windshield save weight over Mustang's quasi-Italian aero profile, and rear passengers are protected from harsh sunlight. Upright backlight gives much better view than Mustang's fastback. Performance. The Cougar has been transformed from a slower, heavier Mustang to the quickest car at FoMoCo. While the Mustang is the top speed champ with its aerodynamic edge, Cougar has more acceleration on tap. Our car had the big 429 Cobra Jet engine with 370 horsepower. This year, it's one of the few Detroit supercars with fewer than 10 pounds of curb weight per horsepower. The 429 XR7 has but 9.7. The Cougar also has the chassis to lay the power down to the pavement, with great weight distribution and firm but not overtly stiff rear springs. The 429 Cougar ranks among the quickest accelerating cars we've ever tested, with only the notorious 425 cubic inch Cammer Galaxy, and more recently the 450 horsepower 454 LS7 triple 2-barrel carb Corvette besting it. Our Cougar was equipped with Lincoln Mercury's unique SuperDrive dual-range transmission, which is a slicker version of the Hone O Drive unit that was sold on Shelby Mustangs a few years ago. It does not freewheel like traditional overdrives. In the supercar-oriented version that comes with the floor-shifted automatics, you can switch back and forth to SuperDrive in all 3 ranges of the automatic transmission. It has a .80 overdrive instead of Hone O Drive's 0.70, so you can split shift on the drag strip with closer spaced ratios, improving times markedly. Split shifting involves lifting the throttle deftly and clicking the SuperDrive button on the shifter handle to allow the vacuum-actuated solenoid to change to the overdrive ratio while in low range. When you shift to second range, you simultaneously click out of SD. The last step is to lift off the throttle and click the SD button to get a 1.17 to 1 ratio in high second gear for an overall ratio of 409 to 1. The 429 thrives with split shifting because the massive valves and racy cam are designed to belt out torque closer to the RPM peak. When you shift at 5,500 RPM, the engine RPM falls to just 4,400 in first gear high instead of 3,300 RPM as it would be in regular second gear. We achieved an astounding best elapsed time of 13.42 seconds at 106 miles per hour once we executed our split shifting technique with military precision. If left to shift itself in drive mode, the Cougar cuts 14.1 second elapsed times at 100 miles per hour with far less variation due to the vagaries of split shifting. Still an especially impressive time. Given the 429's mission of NASCAR top speed heroics, it should come as no surprise that we were not even able to plumb the limits of the car's top speed on our closed course. Without superdrive engaged, we easily broke the 120 mile per hour barrier with the tachometer reading 5,200 RPM. The horsepower peak in superdrive is 156 miles per hour, so we tried calculating the aero drag and our slide rule concluded that the car should go 132 miles per hour in superdrive. Even if you don't use superdrive to be a drag strip eliminator, it's more than worth its $200 asking price. The 0.80 to 1 overdrive makes a big difference in highway cruising. We measured fuel consumption at a steady 70 miles per hour over the same 60-mile stretch of Highway 101 in the central part of the Golden State south of Paso Robles. With the regular 350 to 1 final drive, we got 12.8 miles per gallon, an acceptable figure for a supercar, but we boosted it to 14.8 miles per gallon in superdrive. With gas-guzzling smog devices attached, 15 miles per gallon is regrettably typical, even for cars with mild V8s. The Cougar's luxury GT persona is accentuated in superdrive since engine noise makes little intrusion into the cabin. The big 15 by 7 inch Magnum 500 wheels and GR60 wide boot Goodyear polyglass tires are the biggest factor in the handling and braking improvement. While the Boss Mustang is FoMoCo's king of the Trans Am track, the Cougar is designed for confidence-inspiring sure-footedness in the real world. Handling. We have long thought that the Cougar offered disappointing handling considering its size and the advertising, which drew comparisons to Jaguar. Finally, for 71, the Cougar lives up to its hype. The XR7's competition suspension option includes the same big 0.625-inch diameter rear sway bar and larger shock absorbers that are used in the Boss 352 Mustang. It's up 1/8 of an inch from last year's half-inch roll bar. Spring rates are the same as the Mach 1, which translates to a smoother ride in the Mercury because of its extra 60 pounds of body weight, plus the 429 engine is 55 pounds heavier than the Mustang's Boss 352. This combination keeps the car just as level when cornering, but insulates the driver from the hard knocks of bad roads. With the engine placement giving it a head start, Mercury was able to dial back harshness while maintaining quick turn-in. The car feels amazingly composed. It only took about an hour behind the wheel and twisting mountain roads for us to declare the 71 Cougar Mercury's best ever handler. However, when we got to the track, its all-out pedal-to-the-metal handling actually ranked barely ahead of the 69 Boss 302 Cougar Eliminator we tested. The new Cougar is excellent for any road-going car, but ranks behind the thinly disguised SCCA Racing Valiant Cuda AAR, Chevrolet Camaro Z28, and Ford Boss Mustang. The bigger tires offered much better braking with far less tendency to rear drum lockup. Since stellar road holding and not all-out racetrack grip is what the Mercury engineers were aiming for, we give the 429 XR7 Cougar an A+ in handling. We think most Cougar buyers should get the competition suspension, even with the standard 352 two-barrel V8. Especially at the highway speeds the Cougar is designed for, it gives you much greater confidence and control. You can slice through sharp corners or deal with undulating roads with little effort or anxiety at speeds that would push the typical pillow-soft Detroit barge to its and your very limits. Not to sound like a skipping record, but it bears repeating yet again that Mercury could be better off just making the competition suspension standard and offering a soft ride option as Mustang has with its Grande luxury model. The verdict. In every parameter except curb weight, the 71 Cougar is a better car than the original 67. Handling has been tremendously improved. It's more of a supercar than ever. Its quick ET comes by virtue of the super fat tires, the clever SuperDrive split-shifting automatic, and the modern free-breathing 429. But the world has changed a great deal in just 4 years, even in the stuffy halls of insurance companies in Hartford, Connecticut. The Cougar has the highest insurance rates you'll find. We figured even a 30-year-old man could pay nearly $100 a month for full coverage. That's right, folks. In 4 years, you will have thrown the equivalent of the car's asking price into just insuring it. That's why we keep everything in our test car except the engine, and instead opt for the 4-barrel 352. It costs less than $100, and insurance would cost you about a third to half as much as the 429 version, depending on who you are and where you live. The lighter engine should make the car's stellar handling even better, and would return thriftier gas mileage as well. But if you insist on getting the quickest accelerating FoMo car, money be damned, the 429 XR7 awaits.